Okay, so we go straight out. We are on the bottom half of the second section on page Kuf Chav Hey, into the parentheses. Line begins with the word Ba'arichus. And we're still into the union of ratzon, deciphering all the various qualities of ratzon. How ratzon is different than the kochas pnimiyim at every level. It has an effect. It grasps all the kochas, and the kochas do not grasp in it. It affects the kochas, and the kochas do not affect it. And this is, so to speak, a dilemma, because since it affects him, that means there's a connection. So how come there's a connection, and to the extent that it affects the koiches, whereas the koiches do not affect it? It's connected. And yet we say no, it does not affect the ratzon. The ratzon relates to all the koiches and all the ivorim totally equally. It does not distinguish between whether it's connected, but it's relating to the head or the brain, for that matter, the seichel, the highest qualities, or the quality, the lowest functions and lowest elements in the person, like the feet, a walking capability, even a perfunctory movement, all equally. In all of these, there is the presence of the ratzon that enables those functions. Pardon me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol v'nimtzah. Having said all that, namely that the ratzon does connect to the koiches and it hasn't affected them, whereas they do not affect the ratzon, as we already have experienced in the past. After having said that with such clarity, we come back and say, however, okay, now we're going inside the line against Ba'arichus, and in the middle of that line there's a parenthesis. And I'd like that we should focus into that which is revealed in these parentheses. Not, as I said in the comment, not put everything, assume everything that it's the same thing I was spoken of in a different time. It is not. We have to follow the words and try to understand where these words are trying to lead us. It would appear there is in fact a change in the ratzon with the surface in the sense of the surface of increase, or decrease. And they have koiches pnimiyim. Excuse me. Affected by the koiches pnimiyim. Koiches pnimiyim is the functioning koiches. Any koiches. Koiches has koiches seichel, or koiches speech, or koiches walking, all koiches pnimiyim. The koiches pnimiyim does have effect on the ratzon. In the sense that there is an increase in the presence on the ratzon, or a decrease. And this is what we're going to try to identify with an open mind. Where do we see, on what basis do we say l'choira? L'choira means what? Apparently. apparently means that this is something that we should be able to kind of recognize, not by rationalization, by logic, but by observation. The only way for we see Kasher yesh hisgalus kochos hapnimiyim, that when there is a hisgalus, a revelation, a functioning, and a positive function of the kochos hapnimiyim, of the functioning of the pnimiyim in the kochos harad oivikein. Pnimiyim means specific focus kochos like seichel and midos, or walking and talking. Kochos, an action that is focused on a certain specific action, accomplishment. That when there is a hisgalus of kochos pnimiyim, when kochos pnimiyim is in state of hisgalus means expression. They come further more on the functioning level. What is galus, again, needs to be clearly identified. Let us now try to do it, because this is very elusive to us, and we have to try and follow what the Rebbe is saying. What does his galus mean? His galus is mean. We said that Kol Chai Misna'aneya, that the living thing, Misna'aneya, has an internal, constant internal movement, sense of movement. And therefore, being that Kol Chai Misna'aneya, when you get the foot to move, it is not contrary to its essential being. It is Misna'aneya even before you make it to move. It's in constant state of movement. However, that state of movement, okay, let's focus. That state of movement does not say anything. Does not explain why am I moving? What am I trying to accomplish with this movement? There is not. It's a symbol of being alive.
Or it's just non-moving movement.
That's right. Man his galus movement. It's called Rabbe his galus. His galus means that this movement quality has now been defined and identified as a result of this movement capability. I'm able to do such and such. Not only am I able to do it, I'm doing it. And I'm focused on doing it. What's mean these galus? You're megala a broader and deeper reality. You megala it on a more obvious and observable state. This means galus.
From potential to actual.
I'm sorry?
From potential to actual. I'm just trying to see what nuances being applied here.
Okay, I hear what you're saying.
The meaning of the word is revealed.
Absolutely, revealed. Misna'aneya means it is in a constant state of movement. This movement, Misna'aneya, does not allude to a potential state.
It is stationary, the foot is not moved.
But internally it is moving. Misna'aneya. Okay. It's moving on its own. That's the meaning of the word Misna'aneya. And I'd like to respond to you to the allusion. This cup is stationary here. It is not glued to the table, to this spot. And potentially it can be moved easily. But that's only a potential. There is not in the cup anything that demands that it move. There's no sense of movement in the cup as it's standing there. You can affect it by movement, by moving it. But it in itself, as it stands, does not allude to a potential movement. This is considered a potential. Kol chai misna'aneya is not a potential. It is an actual movement, but it is hidden. It's internal to itself. To itself, it is very meaningful, because that is part of its experience of life.
Can I ask something?
Okay.
I have difficulty to understand what means moves to itself. Everything moves in the outside, but means it moves in itself.
All right, fair enough. Again, I'll try to bring it out, but remember, you have to use your own seichel to understand it. My words are not going to put it into you. My words should only arouse your thinking and deepen into your own seichel. This is the big problem. We are waiting to be fed, because this is not something we can fed. Even when we feed food, we feed food a person. If the person does not have the potential to digest this food, it's not going to do anything for him. It has to be chewed up and swallowed and digested. If it doesn't have that capability, then giving him food is useless. I remember my Fabrengen one time,
Okay.
Avram, what?
I'm saying, all that being said, movement does. Okay.
My Fabrengen one time, Avram Mayor said, let's say you take loaves of bread, tie them around your belly. Okay? If this cleaner does not do anything for you, the same thing you can learn and it remain external. Because you didn't open your mind to it. You didn't allow it to enter and feed your mind. The meaning of internal movement. Again, the question is born out of the fact that when we say movement, we do not identify movement on a seichel level. We identify movement on an observation level. Something is stationary, and now it moves. That's movement. This is movement of an inanimate object, of a domain. A living thing is a completely different thing. When we observe something, I was going to give a mushal from Havdul, a dog, but I'll spare us that diversion. Although it may help us understand and see it, but I don't want to go there. When we observe, it's on an exquisite view, an unusual view, whether it be something awesome, like you say, Mount Everest, or something or a deep in a cave, or something supreme. You observe, like I said, the Empire State Building, you observe the sky, you observe an exquisite beauty. That observation is not a vain and empty observation. It is not that first you observe it and then you bring it to your seichel and say, okay, what did I see over here? At the observation level, you already experienced what you're observing. Because in your koyach observation, there is life. What you observe, there is significance. You experience the significance of what you're observing. It's not of a secondary. Then you can decipher it. But during the observation itself, it's a living experience of observation. I'm sure everybody can identify with this. The reason that we don't automatically relate to it is because we have an influence of the secular way of thought, of thinking, which is a murderer of the neshama. I explained a very simple thing. 1 and 1 is 2. 1 and 1 is 2. It's a simple physical fact. But to understand that and to relate to this as a concept, one has to have seichel. Why seichel? 1 and 1 is 2. What's so challenging about that? Please understand, here is what's hidden behind this. We can see one. One is occupying its particular place. It is true to itself. Here is where it is. It is true in and of itself. It is in its own mitzias. The fact that this one can be joined together with another one and form two. In order to form two, they have to now engage on a broader and greater basis. Because now together they occupy much more space than there is one. This space that they occupy together, is it related to one another or is it two separate in So we say, no, 1 and 1 is 2, which means that there is an inherent relationship between the one and the broader reality, to the extent that it can actually join in and become 2. In order to be 2, you have to have much more potential, much more allowance. Like when you say you have a minyan, You have a million Eden, 10 people. It creates a completely new reality. Each one is a mitzvah unto itself. But when together they bring out a different level of kedusha, different level of godliness in their presence. In order to form a reality of a minyan, there has to be a different kind of reality of their presence in the world. Otherwise it's just 10 sticks. 10 sticks don't make a minyan. How do they make a minyan? They are 10 individuals. The answer is as individuals, they recognize that there's a greater reality than them in there as individuals. They relate to that reality. They recognize the significance. They actually live within it. But in order to bring it out, that happens only when they join with others. Every Yid has a kedusha. But to bring out the kedusha in a Yid, you have to have 10 Yid together. And then he can say, there should be kedusha. It's a completely different saying, different state of being. This is the meaning of the word here. You know what I'm saying? It's internal life, and it is his galus. If it were not internally true, then he could not come to his galus. Like I said, I hate to bring this kind of soul, but just for clarity, for him, you're allowed to do. 10 goyim do not make a minyan. Ten Yidden make a minyan. Why? Because every Yid relates to Kedusha. Internally, you can't even tell it on him. But he sees things from a Kedusha perspective. And when 10 Eden get together, that Kedusha surfaces. This is Pshat Gilui. And this is Pshat internal. So I hope now that we can relate to this word internal. Misna kol chai, misna aneya. It's alive internally. It's not alive when it starts acting. It's alive when it is asleep also.
Misna aneya here means it's alive or it's has enough tenua.
Tenua. Kol chaim misna aneya. Misna aneya means that it has an internal movement. So you were trying to understand it by observing it. You're never going to see it. There's nothing to see.
I don't know if you wanted to observe it as much as understand.
No, I'm saying
what he wanted was not perhaps to see it, but to understand what's the meaning.
No. To understand it, you have to put your seichel in it. Okay. Then asking me a question doesn't do anything.
we seem like we're drifting all over the place, because we started with ratzon and that seemingly it is affected. Then we went on to talk about his galus, and within that a whole.
So what's your observation? So what's your objection to that?
The
Rebbe says this is galus.
Stay with the plot here. Stay with the story. I'm just sort of. Okay.
There's his galus, and I realize that we don't really know what we mean by the word his galus.
And that's where it was around that time I asked. So what is it? It seems to mean made manifest.
No, there's a potential.
I said by contrast, there's the potential then the actual. So then you went in to describe why it's not potential, but still his galus is the manifest version of whatever. It's the actual.
Yeah.
Yes?
Okay. Then his galus is the manifest that which is prior to that on an internal level.
Okay.
Not a potential.
Fine.
On an internal level.
Fine.
Okay. And I explain the difference. So again, okay, we are on the line that we use the word pnimiyim, just below the line that being barichus. Ratzon is affected by increase, in the sense of increase and reduction, as a result of his galos or kirchas pnimiyim. The other reim, for we could see, kasher yesh galos kirchas pnimiyim, that when there is a his galus, an expression, a revelation of koiches pnimim, but a function in koiches that have a clear circumscription. What is the function of this koich? How does it do it? Like seichel. And this koyach comes by his galus. That which is contained in this koyach is now expressing itself. Koyches pnimiyim is, like I said, seichel. Now we pointed out many times, this is, and I'd like to keep it alive and well. When we understand something, like we said before, 2 times 2 equals to 4, or 1 and 1 is 2. We explained it, but this sense existed in the seichel before we even identified it. When we say 1, 1 is 2, we never had a problem understanding it. The only different problem was that we did not really think that we understand it. We thought that we were forced to recognize it. It's true. Count them up. So Chassidus says, no, there's a seichel behind it. You can have two sitting next to each other, and then two individuals sitting next to each other, and they're individual. They're not related. And then you could have two related, and it becomes a pair. Two completely different state of affairs. When we say 2, 1 and 1 is 2, we mean 2 on a unified level. What enables 2 individual to become unified? They're 2 individual pieces. The answer is that as individual pieces, they have an element of a higher quality, where they are participants in something higher than being individual. We don't sense it. It's not because galus, but it's there. And this is how it forms two when they join together. Like I said, 2 goyim lahad will not make it, and 10 goyim not make a minyan. 10 yid make a minyan. There's something in the yid that enables that creation. But then as individual, you don't see it. So when the koiches pnimiyim are bihis galus, when the koiches pnimiyim are bihis galus, in other words, that which I inherently understand now comes to the fore, comes to the surfaces. Even in this very simple thing that I pointed out, we understand 1 and 1 is 2, but we don't realize the significance of that understanding. When we fully understand the Kriyam, it opens up a completely different richness, completely different reality to this. This is his galus kohes pnimi. The real reason that the kohes pnimi, that we can easily understand that 1 and 1 is 2, is because we have that an inherent knowledge. Again, 2 sticks do not say that we are 2. They're 2 individuals. To a human being with seichel, it becomes 2. So when there is this galus kiches pnimi, ukmoi, let me go a little bit further. Ukmoi, as in the case, okay, the line begins with the word oyer. Now that we have this introduction, we will understand the following.